Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Management Studies, SOMS, Certificate in Business Skills, CBS. PCO1 Preparatory Course in Commerce. Block 1 Basic Concepts of Accounting. Unit 3 Basic Accounting Terms and Concepts, 3.1 Introduction. In Unit 2 you learnt about the nature, scope and importance of accounting. You know, accounting is often called the language of business. Language is the means of communication. Accounting also serves this function. It communicates the results of business operations to interested parties. Let us understand this language first. In this unit, we intend to explain some of the terms which are commonly used in accounting and also the basic concepts underlying the accounting system. 3.2 Some basic terms. Entity. The word entity literally means a thing that has a definite individual existence. Business entity means a specifically identifiable business enterprise like Khanna Jewellers, Prakash Pipes Limited, etc. An accounting system is devised for a specific business entity, also called accounting entity. Event and transaction. Anything that brings about a change in the financial position of an entity is called an event. In other words, an event is a happening of consequence to an entity. A transaction is a particular kind of event involving some value between two or more entities. In other words, it is any dealing between two or more persons involving exchange of goods or services for a consideration, usually in money. Transactions are of two kinds, I. Cash transactions, and E. Credit transactions. Cash transactions are those in which cash is involved in the exchange. For example, purchase of goods for cash, purchase of vehicle for cash, payment of rent, etc. In case of credit transactions, cash is not paid immediately, the settlement is postponed to a later date. For example, goods are purchased on credit on April 15, 1987, and the cash is to be paid on August 1, 1987. Goods. The term goods refers to articles in which the business deals. Only those articles which are purchased for the purpose of sale are called goods. Other articles which are purchased for the purpose of using them in the business are not called goods. For example, in case of a fans dealer, Fays are goods. He may be having tables and chairs, but they are not goods for him. In case of a furniture dealer, tables and chairs are goods. He may be having fans, but they are not goods for him. Debtor. A debtor is one who owes some amount to the business. For example, a customer who purchases goods on credit from the business is a debtor to the business. Creditor. A creditor is one to whom the business owes some amount. One who supplies goods or provides some services on credit to the business is a creditor. Books of account. These are the different sets of records, whether in the form of bound books or loose sheets wherein the various business events and transactions are recorded, e.g., journal and ledger. If necessary, the journal and also the ledger may be subdivided into a number of books. Entry. The recording or entering a transaction or event in the books of account is called an entry. Journal. Journal is the book of prime entry. It is used for recording all transactions and events of a business entity in the first stage. For details see Unit 5. Ledger. The transactions recorded in the journal are transferred to a separate book called ledger. In this book, a separate account is opened and maintained for each item. For example, capital account, salaries account, furniture _NT, building account, etc. Ledger is the main book for accounting information and, hence, it is sometimes called the king of books of account. For details see Unit 6. Account. An account is a classified statement of transactions relating to a person or a thing or any other subject. It is vertically divided into two parts in T-shape, alphabet T. The benefits received by that account are recorded on the left-hand side, technically called the debit side, and the benefits given by that account are recorded on the right-hand side, technically called The credit side. This type of recording helps in knowing the net result, i.e., whether that account has received more or given more. To debit an account, it means making an entry for a transaction on the debit side, left hand side, of an account. To credit an account, it means making an entry for a transaction on the credit side, right hand side, of an account. On account, it refers to a part receipt or a part payment of money in respect of earlier credit transactions. For example, Mr. X owes 5,000 rupees, of which he pays 3,000 rupees. This may be termed as received 3,000 rupees from Mr. X on account. See assets. Assets are things of value or economic resources, property, owned by the enterprise. In other words, cash or anything which enables the business entity to get cash or a benefit in future is an asset. Land, buildings, machinery, vehicles, furniture, stock of goods, cash, etc. are some examples of assets. HPED expenditure means the spending of money or incurring a liability for some benefit, service received by the business entity. Purchase of machinery, purchase of furniture, payment of salaries, rent, etc. are some examples of expenditure. If the benefit of an expenditure is limited to 1 year, it is treated as an expense, also called revenue expenditure, such as payment of salaries and rent. On the other hand, if the benefit of an expenditure is available for more than one accounting year, it is treated as an asset, also called capital expenditure, such as purchase of furniture and machinery. Equities, all claims or rights over the assets of a business firm are called equities. Equities are of two types, I, creditors' equity, and E, owner's equity. The claims of the outsiders are called creditors' equity or liabilities. The claim of the owner is called owner's equity or capital. Liabilities, also called creditors' equity, are the amount owed by the business firm to outsiders, other than the owners. Loan from a bank, creditors for goods supplied, rent payable, salaries payable, interest payable to the lenders, are some examples of liabilities. Capital is the amount invested by the owners. It represents the owner's claim on the firm's assets and is known as owner's equity. It is also called net assets or net worth. Drawings refer to the amount withdrawn or the value of goods taken by the proprietor for personal use from the business. Profit is the excess of income over expenditure during a period of time. It is owner's equity. Loss, in one sense, loss means money or money's worth lost without receiving any benefit. For example, cash or goods lost by theft or fire accident. In the context of profit and loss account, loss represents to the excess of expenditure over income during a period of time. In either case, loss decreases the owner's equity. Income, also called revenue, is the amount earned by a business entity resulting from operations which constitute its major or central activities. For example, sale of goods or services. Gain is a profit that arises from events or transactions which are incidental to business, such as sale of an asset, winning a court case, appreciation in the value of land and buildings, etc. Trade discount. It is a common practice these days to print the price of an article on its package. The price so mentioned on the article is called the catalog price or list price. When you buy an article, the seller may agree to give you some concession and charge a price which is less than the list price. Such concession or reductio in price is called trade discount. Thus, it is an allowance given by the seller to the buyer on the list price at the time of sale. Trade discount is generally given by the manufacturer to the wholesaler and by the wholesaler to the retailer. Suppose a bookseller buys 10 copies of a book, Principles and Practice of Accountancy, by R. Sriram, priced at 25 rupees. The publisher allows a discount of 10% and charges 225 rupees net, list price as 250 minus discount of 25 rupees. The buyer pays only the net price. Recording in books of account is also made for the net amount only. No specific entry is required for the trade discount. Cash discount: when goods are sold on credit, the buyer is expected to pay the amount on or before the due date. However, if the buyer makes the payment before the due date, the seller may allow him some reduction in the amount due and settle the account. Such an allowance is called cash discount. It is allowed at the time of payment. It motivates the debtor to make prompt payment. Suppose the books worth 225 rupees, net amount, was sold on February 1, 1987 on credit for 1 month. The due date is March 1, 1987. The bookseller offers to make the payment on February 15, 1987. The publisher accepts 220 rupees in settlement of the account. The balance amount of 5 rupees is the cash discount allowed. Cash discount must be recorded in the books of account in order to show that the party account stands cleared and nothing more remains due from him. Voucher: a documentary, written evidence of a transaction is called a voucher. For example, if we buy goods for cash we get cash memo, if we buy on credit we get an invoice, and so on. Entries in books of account are made with the help of such vouchers. Solvent: a person who is in a position to pay his debts as they become due. Insolvent: a person who is not in a position to pay his debts in full and is so declared by the court. Bad debts: the amount of debt which is unrealizable from a debtor who became insolvent. Stock: the amount of goods lying unsold or unused. It also includes stock of raw materials and semi-finished goods. 3.3 Basic accounting concepts. Accounting is a system evolved to achieve a set of objectives as stated in Unit 2.2. The objectives identify the goals and purposes of financial record keeping and reporting. In order to achieve the goals, we need a set of rules or guidelines. These guidelines are termed here as basic accounting concepts. The term concept means an idea or thought. Basic accounting concepts are the fundamental ideas or basic assumptions underlying the theory and practice of financial accounting. These concepts are also termed as generally accepted accounting principles. These are the broad working rules of accounting activity, developed and accepted by the accounting profession. They are evolved, and are still evolving, over a period in response to the changing business environment and the specific needs of the users of accounting information. The concepts guide the identification of events and transactions to be accounted for, their measurement and recording, and the method of summarizing and reporting to interested parties. The concepts, thus, help in bringing about uniformity in the practice accounting. An in-depth understanding of these concepts will place the student in a better position to appreciate accounting system. Of course, it may be difficult to comprehend all these concepts at a stretch. We, therefore, advise you to revisit these concepts after giving at least one reading of this course material. These concepts may be classified into two broad groups. I. Concepts to be observed at the recording stage, i.e., while recording the transactions, and E. Concepts to be observed at the reporting stage, i.e., at the time of preparing the final accounts. It must, however, be remembered that some of them are overlapping and even contradictory. They are listed out in Chart 3.1. Chart 3.1. Accounting concepts. Look at the screen. 3.3.1 Concepts to be observed at the recording stage. The following concepts will guide us in identifying, measuring and recording transactions. Business entity concept. Business entity means a unit of organized business activity. In that sense, a provision store, a cloth dealer, an industrial establishment, an electricity supply undertaking, a bank, a school, a hospital, etc., are all business entities. From the accounting point of view, every business enterprise is an entity separate and distinct from its proprietors, owners. The accounting system gives information only about the business and not its owner at In other words, we record those transactions in the books of account which relate only to the business. The owner's personal affairs, his expenditure on housing, food, clothing, etc., will not appear in the books of account of his business. However, when personal expenditure of the owner is met from business funds, it shall also be recorded in the business books. 7T will be recorded as drawings by the proprietor and not as business expenditure. Another implication of business entity concept is that the owner of business is to be treated as a creditor who also has a claim over the assets of the business. As such, the amount invested by him, capital, is regarded as a liability for the business. The business entity concept is applicable to all forms of business organizations. This distinction can be easily maintained in the case of a limited company because the company has a legal entity of its own, but such distinction becomes difficult in case of a sole proprietorship or partnership because in the eyes of the law the partner or the sole proprietor are not considered separate entities. They are personally liable for all business transactions. But, for accounting purposes they are to be treated as separate entities. This enables them to ascertain the profit or loss of business more conveniently and accurately. Money measurement concept. Usually, business deals in a variety of items having different physical units such as kilograms, quintals, tons, meters, liters, etc. If the sales and purchases of different items are recorded in terms of their physical units, adding them together will pose problems. But, if these are recorded in a common denomination, their total becomes homogeneous and meaningful. Therefore, we need a common unit of measurement. Money does this function. It is adopted as the common measuring unit for the purpose of accounting. All recording, therefore, is done in terms of the standard currency of the country where business is set up. For example, in India it is done in terms of rupees, in USA it is done in terms of US dollars, and so on. Another implication of money measurement concept is that only those transactions and events are to be recorded in the books of account which can be expressed in terms of money such as purchases, sales, payment of salaries, goods lost in accident, etc. Other happenings, non-monetary, like death of an efficient manager or the appointment of an accountant, howsoever important they may be, are not recorded in the books of account. This is because their effect is not measurable or quantifiable in terms of money. This approach has its own drawbacks. The value of money changes over a period of time. The value of rupee today is much less than what it was in 1961. Such a change is nowhere reflected in accounts. This is the reason why the accounting data does not reflect the true and fair view of the affairs of the business. Hence, nowadays, it is considered desirable to provide additional data showing the effect of changes in the price level on the reported income and the assets and liabilities of the business. Objective evidence concept. The term objectivity refers to being free from bias or free from subjectivity. Accounting measurements are to be unbiased and verifiable independently. For this purpose, all accounting transactions should be evidenced and supported by documents such as bills, invoices, receipts, cash memos, etc. These supporting documents, vouchers, form the basis for making entries in the books of account and for their verification by auditors afterwards. As for the items like depreciation and the provision for doubtful debts where no documentary evidence is available, the policy statements made by management are treated as the necessary evidence. Historical record concept. You know that after identifying the transactions and measuring them in terms of money, we record them in the books of account. According to the historical record concept, we record only those transactions which have actually taken place and not those which might take place. Future transactions. It is because accounting record presupposes that the transactions are to be identified and objectively evidenced. This is possible only in the case of past, actually happened, transactions. The future transactions can hardly be identified and measured accurately. You also know that all transactions are to be recorded in chronological, date-wise order. This leads to the preparation of a historical record of all transactions. It also implies that we simply record the facts and nothing else. As you will study later, we make provision for some expected losses such as doubtful debts. This may be contrary to what is stated in historical record concept. But this is done only at the time of ascertaining the profit or loss of the business. It is not a routine item. This is done in accordance with another concept called conservatism concept, about which you will study later. Cost concept. Business activity, in essence, is an exchange of money. The price paid, or agreed to be paid in case of a credit transaction, at the time of purchase is called cost. According to the cost concept, all assets are recorded in books at their original purchase price. This cost also forms an appropriate basis for all subsequent accounting for the assets. For example, if the business buys a machine for 80,000 rupees, it would be recorded in books at 80,000 rupees. In case its market value increases later on to 1 rupee, 00000, or decreases to 50,000 rupees, it will continue to be shown at 80,000 rupees and not at its market value. This does not mean, however, that the asset will always be shown at cost. You know that with passage of time the value of an asset decreases. Hence it may systematically be reduced from year to year by charging depreciation, and the asset be shown in the balance sheet at the depreciated value. The depreciation is usually charged as a fixed percentage of cost. It bears no relationship with changes in its market value. In other words, the value at which the assets are shown in the balance sheet has no relevance to its market value. This, no doubt, makes it difficult to assess the true financial position of the business. K is, therefore, regarded as an important limitation of the cost concept. But this approach is preferred because, firstly, it is difficult and time-consuming to ascertain the market values, and secondly, there will be too much of subjectivity in assessing the current values. However, this limitation has been overcome with the help of inflation accounting. Dual aspect concept. This is the basic aspect of accounting. According to this concept, every business transaction has a twofold effect. In commercial context, it is a famous dictum that every receiver is also a giver and every giver is also a receiver. For example, if you purchase a machine for 8 rupees, you receive machine on the one hand and give 8,000 rupees on the other. Thus, this transaction has a twofold effect, i.e., I, increase in one asset, and E, decrease in another. Similarly, if you buy goods worth 500 rupees on credit, it will increase an asset, stock of goods, on the one hand, and increase a liability, creditors, on the other. Thus every business transaction involves two aspects, I, the receiving aspect, and E, the giving aspect. In case of the first example, you find that the receiving aspect is machinery and the giving aspect is cash. In the second example, the receiving aspect is goods and the giving aspect is the creditor. If complete record of transactions is to be made, it would be necessary to record both the aspects in books of account. This principle is the core of double entry bookkeeping, and if this is strictly followed, it is called double entry system of bookkeeping, about which you will learn in detail later. Let us understand another accounting implication of the dual aspect concept. To start with, the initial funds, capital, required by the business are contributed by the owner. If necessary, additional funds are provided by the outsiders, creditors. As per the dual aspect concept, all these receipts create corresponding obligations for their repayment. In other words, a contribution to the business, either in cash or kind, not only increases its resources, assets, but also its obligations, liabilities, equities, correspondingly. Thus, at any given point of time, the total assets and the total liabilities must be equal. This equality is called balance sheet equation or accounting equation. It is stated as under. Liabilities, equities equals assets. Or, capital outside liabilities equals assets. The term assets denotes the resources, property, owned by the business, while the term equities denotes the claims of various parties against the business assets. Equities are of two types: I, owner's equity, and E, outsider's equity. Owner's equity, called capital, is the claim of the owners against the assets of the business. Outsider's equity, called liabilities, is the claim of outside parties like creditors, Barak, etc., against the assets of the business. Thus, all assets of the business are claimed either by the owners or by the outsiders. Hence, the total assets of a business will always be equal to its liabilities. When various business transactions take place, they affect the assets and liabilities in such a way that this equality is always maintained. Let us take a few transactions and see how this equality is maintained. 3.4 Systems of bookkeeping. Bookkeeping, as explained earlier, is the art of recording business transactions in a systematic manner. Broadly, there are two systems of bookkeeping: I, double entry system, and E, single entry system. 3.4.1 Double entry system. Under the dual aspect concept, you learned that every business transaction has two aspects: I, the receiving aspect, and E, the giving aspect. For example, when you purchase goods for cash, goods come in and cash goes out. Thus, a transaction affects two items, also called accounts, at the same time. When you record the transaction in the books of account of a business, it would be better if you record the effects relating to both the items. In the above example, the items affected are goods and cash. Stock of goods increases and cash decreases. So, we should record the increase in stock of goods and also the decrease in cash. This involves two entries, one in goods account and the other in cash account. This method of recording business transactions is called double entry system. It recognizes and records both the aspects of every transactions. According to this system, the account which involves receiving aspect is debited and the account which involves giving aspect is credited. Thus, for every debit there will be an equivalent credit. For this purpose, certain rules have been framed. These are discussed in Unit 4. Advantages of double entry system. This system has the following advantages. I. It provides complete and reliable record of all business transactions because it records both effects. E. It supplies full information about the incomes and expenses, assets and liabilities of the business. It, thus, helps the management in taking appropriate decisions. E. The arithmetical accuracy of the books of account can be ascertained by preparing a trial balance, IV, the financial result of the operations of the business. I.A. Profit or loss can be easily ascertained. V. The financial position of the business can also be ascertained at any point of time. 3.4.2 Single entry system. Single entry system does not mean that only one aspect of a transaction is recorded. An incomplete or defective double entry system is generally called single entry system. Under this system, all transactions are not recorded and all accounting records are not maintained. The two aspects of a transaction are recorded in certain cases, but in certain cases only one aspect is recorded. Certain transactions are ignored, they are not even recorded. The single entry system is thus a mixture of double entry, single entry and no entry. The accounts maintained under this system are incomplete and unsystematic and, therefore, not reliable. The main defect of this system is that the arithmetical accuracy of the books of account cannot be checked, because a trial balance cannot be prepared. The profit and loss account and balance sheet also cannot be prepared. This system is normally followed by small business firms. 3.5 Let us sum up. 1. There are number of terms commonly used in accounting. The understanding of these terms is necessary for preparing accounting records. 2. Accounting involves identifying, measuring, recording, summarizing and communicating events and transactions. For this purpose, certain guidelines or ground rules are necessary. Basic accounting concepts or generally accepted accounting principles guide the accountant in record keeping and reporting. 3 certain principles or concepts have been agreed upon. Some are observed at the recording stage while others are relevant at the reporting stage. 4. According to business entity concept, the business enterprise and its proprietor are treated as 2 separate entities, distinct from each other. 5. According to money measurement concept, all the transactions should be recorded in terms of the standard currency of the country. 6. According to the historical record concept, only those transactions which have actually taken place should be recorded in the order of their occurrence, i.e., date-wise. 7. The cost concept states that the amount actually received or paid for any goods or service should be recorded and not its value. 8. As per the dual aspect concept, every transaction has 2 aspects. Both the aspects are to be recorded in the books of account. 9. Double entry is a system which recognizes and records both aspects of a transaction. 10. Single entry system is an incomplete record of business transactions. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video with the next chapter.